right? So there are three basic generic strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, and niche specialization. Right? We talked about it earlier. Then when it comes to cost leadership, so that means if you can provide the product at the lowest possible cost in the market, so you gain the cost leadership. Here we say the cost leader is the company that can offer the product at the cheapest price. In most industries, price can be driven by the economies of scale. So what decides the price of a product for the organization? As far as the organization is concerned, the economies of scale, right? So when they do production in massive scale, right, in big numbers, they can gain the what you call that they can provide their product at the market lowest possible cost. Whereas for the smaller businesses, right, the small players, they don't have economies of scale as such. The big players, so they are disadvantaged in that, right? By the control and supplies, control of supplies and channels, this is how these big players gain the economies of scale, and by experience that allows the company to do things more efficiently, right? So that they know how to do it at a more efficient manner at the lowest possible price. They offer the products and the services. In most industries, large companies dominate the manufacture of products in huge volume and sell them more cheaply than their smaller rivals. So that's why these big organizations all the time have what competitive advantage, right? They have cost savings with their massive production, right? Then we have the differentiation, the next strategy, right? If company can't sell its products for the cheapest price, an alternative is to offer better or more desirable products. So if you can't be the cost leader in the market, the alternative is differentiate. So that means if you can provide the superior product in the market, so that means you differentiate your product from your competitors, right? So that is the next strategy, right? Differentiation. Customers are often willing to pay a premium for better products. So that is natural. If you get a better product, you pay more. By all the time that is related with the premium price. And this allows the companies specializing in producing better product to compete with those selling a cheaper but desirable product. For example, if you take your shirt, right? In the market you have so many ordinary shirts like starting from 500 rupees to 1500. But if you go for a branded one, like let's say Emerald, so all of a sudden you have to pay 2500 for a shirt like that, or more than that. So that means the Emerald has differentiated their product in the market from other manufacturers, right? So that they are in position to charge premium price for their better product. So that when it comes to these again as an example, right? If you take Sony cameras, so people are willing to pay more, right? Then the companies usually make better products by using more expensive materials. So how do they get the better products? Having more expensive materials, relying on superior craftsmanship. So if they have superior craftsmanship, obviously they can differentiate their product. So they creating unique design. If you have unique design, then there is a differentiation. Or tailoring the design of the product in various ways. So if you can have your product in various different ways, obviously then you differentiate your products, right? Right. So that if a company can provide the product, superior products in the market, so that means you can gain the competitive advantage through differentiation, right? So here we say customers are often willing to pay for a premium price for a better product, as I told you earlier, right? So if you take especially this branded product, so you are willing to pay premium price for this superior brand. So companies usually make better products by using more expensive materials, relying on superior craftsmanship, creating the unique design, and design of the product in various ways. so that you can either, if you collect expensive material, then you can differentiate your product, or rely on superior craftsmanship. You have the best way of doing stuff. I mean, some kind of a unique craftsmanship. Then again, you can differentiate, and the creating unique design. You can differentiate and tailoring the designs of the products in various ways. And if you can offer your products in various different ways, that is again a part of differentiation, right? And the next one, niche specialization. Here we say niche specialist focus on specific buyers, specific segment of the market, or buyers in particular geographical markets, and often only offer a subset of products typically sold in the market. For example, when it comes to niche market, for example, if you start off doing a product for the blind people in the world, that's a niche specialization, because in all around the world it's a small segment of the market. Likewise, earlier I discussed this ecotourism from the main tourism market. It's a one niche specialization, right? Ecotourism, right? So in effect, the present and extreme version of differentiation, and they can charge a premium for their products since the products have special features beneficial to the consumers in the niche. So as I have earlier mentioned, these ecotourists, they are very educated segment, and they are again a very wealthy segment, and they are very pretty much concerned, or they interested in the conservation of the environment, so that by offering the products that suited to these ecotourists, we can earn more, right? Rather than involved in this, rather than from this ordinary tourists we are catering at the moment, right? So that premium for our product. So the niche specialization is there. If you have segmented, if you have specially selected the segment of the main market or the whole market, and if you are catering to that small segment, that's what we call niche specialization. And from that, obviously, you can charge a premium price for their products and the services, right? Then we have, for example, here we have example we have taken from the car manufacturers, right? So here, when it comes to Rolls-Royce, what comes into your mind when you heard this Rolls-Royce? So that is one of the most expensive motor cars in the world, right? So here they say lowest demand and the luxury market. That is a differentiation, right? So if everyone is willing to have a Rolls-Royce, but only rich people can buy it, right? So that is catering to the luxury market. That's the differentiation they have done. Then again, this Lamborghini, that is what we call the focus, the niche specialization. Lamborghini is for the people who are really interested in speed, right? Racing cars, kind of. And again, very expensive, right? So then again, Ford SUVs, that again a niche specialization. The target subgroup of customers. Right? There are segment of some kind of people who want to really drive a SUV, sports utility vehicle. So for that segment, they have a specialization, right? Then again, this used Honda Civic. So overall cost leadership, people who are willing to pay minimum, the lowest possible price for this kind of vehicles, right? So with regard to this industry, we can have a look at what is the differentiation, focus strategy, and niche specialization, overall cost leadership, right? Then again, we have this types of competitive advantage being pursued. Here, by this diagram, we can understand there are 4 different ways that we can perceive competitive advantage. One is the overall cost leadership, right? The lowest possible cost. The second one, broad differentiation. So the differentiated product. The third one, in niche market, focus low cost, right? So you select the niche market and offer your product at the lowest possible cost. in that niche market again, you differentiate in that niche market, right? So that there are four types of competitive advantage being pursued through this diagram, right? Then when it comes to Porter, right? Michael Porter's first book was Competitive Strategy, right? So there are techniques for analyzing industries and competitors. So that when it comes to Porter's theory of competitive advantage, right? Michael Porter's first book was on competitive strategy, techniques for analyzing industries and competitors. So that his first book was on competitive strategy, techniques for analyzing industries and the competitors. How to analyze these industries and the competitors. This is the book in which he analyzed the various sources of environmental threats and opportunities and describe how companies could position themselves in the market. So that he discussed in that book what are the sources of environmental threats and opportunities, right? Threats and opportunities of the environment are basically the outside of the organization, right? And describe how companies could position themselves in the market. So based on considering these factors, threats and the opportunities, how the company positions they themselves. For the second book, Competitive Advantage, Creating and Sustaining Superior Performance, was published in 1985. Competitive Advantage extended Porter's basic idea of strategy in several important ways. For our purpose, we will focus on this idea about value chain. So we will take this value chain, right? The source of competitive advantage and the role that business forces play in establishing, maintaining competitive advantage. So how you can gain the competitive advantage? By looking at the component of your value chain, and here we say the source of competitive advantage, right? So that for the second book, Competitive Advantage, Creating and Sustaining Superior Performance, was published in 1985. Competitive Advantage extended Porter's basic idea of strategy in several important ways. For our purpose, you can see the screen now, right, Kavinga?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. For our purpose, we will focus on his idea about the value chain, the sources of the competitive advantage, and the role of the business process play in establishing and maintaining competitive advantage. So when it comes to this competitive advantage, it is very important to understand the value chain and the sources of competitive advantage and the roles that the business process has to play in an organization, like, right? Again, I have what's going on? I can't move my screen now. Kavika, I don't know why. And value chain several times now. So we should probably offer a definition. The term value, as it is used in any of these phrases, refers to the value that customer perceives and is willing to pay for. So when it comes to the value itself, right? So that is the amount that our customers are ready to pay for us, right? So when it comes to so that's why because of when it comes to value proposition, that is the reason why our customers are going to buy our products and the services, right? And value chain, again, these activities which we have organized in the processes of our organization. The term value, as it is used in any of these phrases, refers to the value that customer perceives and it is ready to pay for, right? So that's why they are buying products and the services from us, right? Because there is a value for him or her. The idea of the value chain is that each activity in the value chain or sequence adds some value to the final product. So that in any process of organization, let's say, okay, production process, from getting down the raw materials from the warehouses to the business, and in the production process, Activities which take the production process. Then again, goes to the outer warehouses and sales and marketing, right? After sales service. All these different activities in the value chain add value, right? So the here we say the idea of the value chain is that each activity in that value chain or sequence adds some value to the final product. So ultimately, adding this value to the product, the customer is ready to pay for it, right? So each and every activity in this value chain, we add value to the product or the customer, right? It's assumed that if you ask the customer about each of the steps, the customer would agree that the step added something to the value of the product. So in the value chain, if you remember, we discussed the last week the Porter's value chain, the what you call that a firm value chain, and what happens. So there are so many different activities which take place, right? So the ultimately once the product is done, so we add the premium and sell it at the market. So that means each and every activity within the organization adds certain value to it, right? Customer is ready to pay for it, right? So here we have just to understand the value proposition. I have some added the diagrams. Let's take the first one, the value proposition development, formulating your personal value. So you know that you people are you are prepared to go for interviews right now, right? And you probably would have sent some application for the industry, and you are waiting for interviews and so on, right? So in that sense, so what you should do, right, as a candidate, right? The first thing you have to do is to identify what you have to identify. You have to identify what are your strengths, what are your skills, what are your experience are, right? In order to create value proposition for yourself, right? Formulating your personal value proposition. That's what you have to do first. You have to identify your strength, your skills, and your experience, right? Then you have to answer these questions, right? Why should the company invest in you as an employee or intern? Why they should hire you? You have to tell at the interview, right? You have to tell. So because of this reason, you should hire me, right? You have to tell them why that firm should invest in you as an employee or as an intern. Then the next one, how will you add more value than how will you add more value than your competition for the position? So as far as other candidates are concerned, right? How will you add more value compared to all other candidates, right? Attending that interview, right? So you should answer these questions. You should tell them, emphasize at the interview, right? Why you should hire by the company and how you can add value, add more value compared to your other, the colleagues or the other competitors, right? The attendees of that interview, right? You have to answer that. Then again, your personal value proposition, right? You have to formulate it. Here we say your personal value proposition is the heart of your career strategy. So if you want to get a job, so personal value proposition is the heart of it, right? Career strategy. It's the foundation for everything in the job search and career progression. So that is the foundation, your personal value proposition, right? To find a job, to get a job, and progress in your career life. Targeting potential employers, attracting the help of others, and explaining why you are the one to pick. So you have to target the potential employer. You may pinpoint that and attracting the help of others. You get some help from others and explaining why you are the one to pick. It is why to hire you. That is the reason for organization to hire, not someone else. And if you done this personal value proposition, obviously you will get the chance. That is as a person, right? As a person, when you go to the industry, remember all this. Likewise, when it comes to products and the services, this is the value proposition, right? Here we say value proposition is a promise made by the brand to the audiences with whom it want to build relationships. So that is the promise you make with your products and the services to your customer, the value proposition, right? That is the promise you made with your product or the service, right? It is factor that makes it different and better and or better than the others out there. So you differentiate yourself from your competitors, right? Making a brand stand out from the rest of the market. So you differentiate yourself, you stand out from your other competitors, right? For that, obviously, what you should know your value proposition, the competitor's value proposition, and the customer's needs or customers or the prospects needs and desires, right? So that then only you will you will create your value proposition in the market, right? So I hope, right? How come this? Because we discussed this slide now. Hmm? Okay, forget about it. We have discussed earlier, right? So that now we have discussed this value chain, right? Um, the value proposition and the value of the product. So what are the strategies you have to create? So when it comes to BPM, so we find not only the value adding activities, but we have some what we call non-value adding activities. So this is something very important in BPM, right? So in the business process manager, we all the time we would say what you call that the eliminate non-value adding activities, right? So what are these non-value adding activities? If you are in a queue, right? If you do a reproduction because of the shortcomings of the products you did, or excess inventory, right? Unwanted transportation or the movements of the goods. These are non-value adding activities because they don't add any value to your products or the service. If you have to do the one product at the few different times, does it add any value? No. If you let your customers to be in a queue before entering a restaurant, does it add any value? No. So we have to eliminate it, right? So here we say it's a little more complex, of course, because everyone agrees that there are some activities or steps that don't add any value directly, but facilitate adding value. These are often called value enabling activities, thus requiring the path that will later be used to assemble a product is a value enabling activity. So apart from these value adding activities, non-value adding activities, we have another term we call value enabling activity. It is not directly involved with the production, but it is supporting the process of value adding. So value enabling activities we call it. The reason to focus on value, however, is ultimately identify activities that are non-value adding activities. These are activities that have incorporated into a process for one reason or another that no longer add any value to the final product. Non-value activities should be eliminated, as I told you earlier. We will discuss all this in later chapters when we focus on analyzing process. So I have mentioned what are these some of these non-value adding activities. So any process we eliminate non-value adding activities, right? So that's what we basically do in the business process management. So when it comes to hammer, right, and the porter, right? So there are similarities, right? So the porters use the term value chain is similar to hammer's use of co-wheeler because porter is Porter basically talk about the value chain, and the Hammer use the term called co-process, right? So many companies use the term process to refer much more specific set of activities, right? So once we heard the term process, what does comes into your mind? Input, right? Some process and the output, right? So process in the sense we get some raw material and we do involve with some activity, and we have as a result we have a output line, right? So that's what comes into our mind, right? Many companies use the term process to refer much more specific set of activities. For example, one might refer the marketing and sales process, right? So marketing and sales process, what happens? So identifying the customer needs to cater that customer requirement. All the activities comes under marketing and sales process. The order fulfillment process. Once you get an order, until you fulfill your customer order, all the activity, or even customer relationship management process. But you have to, once the customer complains or lodge some kind of interest on that, so the activities which taken place on that, right? So that's the process. In this book, we want to speak on comprehensive large scale processes. We all use the term value chain. So with regard to Hammer, because since we have what you call that, adapted his text in his book, the large scale processes he has termed as a value chain, right? Hammer termed large scale processes as a value chain. In general, when we use the term process, we will refer to some specific set of activities, right? If Hammer said that in his book, value chain, that's a large scale process. But if he has mentioned a process, that is referring to some more specific set of activities, right? Some activities in a process like, right? So here, when it comes to Porter, right? So Porter basically define it by having these primary activities and supporting activities.